Hi everybody. So today I'm going to be doing a 3 thriller reading vlog for you guys. Um, I've been kind of down. I've had a death in the family and I needed to take some time to read and pull myself back into sorts, and I just poured myself into these books. For this vlog I read The Family Game by Catherine Steadman, The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley, and The Golden Couple by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. I'm going to give full disclosure now. This is a spoiler-filled vlog because I had some very strong feelings while reading these 3 books. But if you don't mind that, or if you have already read these, then stay tuned. I hope you enjoy, and let's get right into the reading. Hi everybody, I am here with a little bit of an update for the vlog. I've got to apologize for the lighting. It is very dark and dreary outside, even though it's the middle of the day. And I do have a small ring light, but it can only do so much. So I am here to talk about The Family Game by Catherine Steadman. I am 103 pages into this, and so far I am kind of conflicted about it. Nothing has really happened yet, but it's not that it's bad, so it's really hard to describe. So far, all that's really going on is this woman named Harriet Reed, who is an author and she's behind on a deadline, is meeting her future in-laws for the first time at Thanksgiving. And, it's like they're kind of weird, and but they seem relatively accepting of her. But her fiance is not quite willing to go back into the family fold just yet. She doesn't really understand why. And her future father-in-law has given her a tape and asked her for her opinion, but she doesn't know what's on the tape. She's trying to figure out how to play the tape. So as of right now, I don't even know if there is a game being played, or if the whole setup of this so far has been a game. It's just kind of hard to say with 100% certainty, but it's not that this is bad, because it's like I am enjoying myself so far with my reading. I am liking the story. Like the characters' interactions are pretty interesting to read. It seems like this intricate family dynamic with a kind of like toxic family relationships, but not really, because we're not really seeing anybody fight. But at the same time, you can't help but pick up on a little bit of tension. So, yeah, I'm kind of confused at this point, because it doesn't feel like a thriller. It's like, it definitely feels like there's like a big family drama, and it is entertaining. But I'm not really getting a thriller feel from it yet. Hopefully that is to come. I will say that the family does appear to be overbearing. For example, the first time that Harriet is set to meet her fiance's sister, the sister cancels her meeting at her publishing house so that she can have tea with her, which completely blew my mind. I mean, they are a rich, affluent family, so it's like they have connections, and that's how she was able to do that in the first place. But the fact that she did it, especially for the first meeting, she hadn't even met this woman yet, I'm pretty sure I would be running. That's just my personal opinion. But yeah, and then it's like the mother, the future mother-in-law, is like, she has this phone conversation with her about a housekeeper. She's like, oh, we don't really need a housekeeper. And the mother-in-law is like lecturing her about trying to do everything herself because she's going to burn out. And then like the next day, a cleaner that is hired by the family just shows up. I don't really know, but like I said, nobody's being cruel or mean to her or anything. It's just like these things are weird, and it's a little unsettling. But still doesn't feel like a thriller. So I'm not sure where this is headed. I am interested to find out, and I will check back in with you in a little bit. Hi, everyone. So I finished The Family Game, and I feel like this has become a trend lately. I thought the book overall was good, but I couldn't stand the ending. I don't know. Maybe it's just a funk that I'm in, because at this point I'm really starting to not trust my own judgment on book endings. I feel like I haven't enjoyed the ending of a book since The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I mean, I hated that so much, and it's like I feel like it did affect my reading, not in the sense that it put me in a slump and I slowed down, but even when I like a book, I hate the ending, and I don't know what's going on with that. But anyway, let's just get right on back into this, and I'll explain a little bit more of what I mean. The Family Game is about a woman named Harriet Reed who is going to meet her future in-laws, and they're a rich, affluent family with connections, and it's like it starts off with like little unsettling things here and there that kind of rub her the wrong way, but she desperately wants a family, so she puts up with a lot. And she has this own dark secret in her past, so it's like her future father-in-law gives her a tape that he says is like the idea for a thriller, and he wants her to listen to it and give him her opinion, because she is a writer and she has released a very successful thriller. So it seems like it is a reasonable request until she actually listens to it and realizes that it seems as though it is a confession to a grisly murder. But at the same time, she's confused, because she's like, maybe it really is the idea for a thriller, and it's not really confession, it's just the book. But there's too many similarities to the actual family that make her think that these events are real. So let's just start right off the bat that the games in this, it's not the way that I thought that it was going to be. I thought that there was going to be like one singular event where she's invited to, and then like there's like this deadly, twisted, messed up game. And it wasn't quite like that. I mean, we follow a period of a little over a month here, I think about 6 weeks. And in this time frame, they go to 3 family events. And it is clear that the family does like games, in the sense that it's like they like to mess with you psychologically a little bit. But it's like it wasn't one big game unless you count the tape. But that's what the majority of this book was her actually trying to decipher this tape and figure out if it was really a book idea or if it was like real events. So that might disappoint some people, but let's just put that aside. I did think that this book was very well written, and I was intrigued in the characters and, you know, their interactions, the relationships, and all of that. It just wasn't what I thought that it was going to be, but I could have misinterpreted what it was supposed to be about. That very well could have been my error. So I tried not to hold that against the book. So I'm like, I take that completely out of the equation. The games that are in here are pretty interesting. There is one on, I think it's Krampusnacht. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right at all, but it's the Night of Krampus. And they do like this big elaborate game for the children, and like it's complete with a person in a suit, and Harriet gets teamed up with one of the children, and she's told that he specifically asked for her, which, by the way, this is an adorable little boy. But, you know, it's like The game is just, it feels very ominous for kids. And she discovers pretty quickly that everybody knows what's going on besides her. So she's kind of out of the loop and she's not happy about it. So the way that that game was laid out was awesome. It was creepy. It was very ominous and atmospheric. And that was probably the point where I felt like the story picked up, because before that it was kind of slow. And then when we get to this Krampus Night game, it is, it's just, I feel like the pace just took off. It just went from here to here. And there was so much tension, and Harriet was very upset by this game, and she gets into a fight with her fiance about it, which I honestly do kind of think she overreacted to it. It's kind of weird, you know, because it's like, it was very elaborate, and it was very, you know, way more detailed than anybody thought to tell her. And she wasn't as aware of what to do as everybody else. And they said that was part of the game. You had to figure it out. They had to see if you were worth being in the family or whatever. So it was a test. So it's like, she wasn't wrong in the sense that they were purposely trying to scare her. But at the same time, it is a children's game. It's like the kids felt perfectly comfortable at playing it and safe playing it. So it's like, it's not like you were going to get hurt, you know, but she seemed to think that they were trying to hurt her. So I do think that might have been a little bit of an overreaction, but I could see where she was coming from. And there is another game towards the end of the book that the game itself is interesting. It's like, it's a Christmas treasure hunt, but they kind of spin it a different way to where the winner gets like their greatest need taken care of, no questions asked. So it's like, it's very kind of becomes high stakes. So I thought that was kind of cool. But the ending itself, and I'm not going to do spoilers here, I'm just going to say that I kind of figured out this twist in the first 20% of the book, and I hoped that I was wrong. Usually, I'm pretty good about figuring out twists, and so I typically don't get upset by it because I'm used to it. But it was the fact that I figured it out so early, and I was just kind of like, no, I hope I'm wrong. Surely I'm not right. Surely this is just, you know, a gut feeling or whatever that was triggered by something early on that I've done forgotten. But I wasn't wrong. And I just kind of like, I didn't feel like it was something that worked for the story, you know. It was, for one thing, I felt like it was a little too obvious. There were too many hints dropped towards it. And I really had hoped that it was going to be a red herring, but it wasn't. It was like the real deal. And that bothered me. It bothered me a lot. Plus the way that the action in like the last, I don't know, 30, 40 pages of the book plays out. It reminds me of the climax of a very over-the-top horror movie. Like, the rest of it was great, like in building suspense and building tension and having like very good character development. But then you get to those last like 40 so pages, and it's like a horror movie, and it's like a very over-the-top horror movie, and it didn't feel like it really matched the rest of the book to me. I'm going to do a more in-depth review about this one because I feel like I need to talk about what my problems were with the ending in order for everybody to really understand what I'm talking about. But overall, I ended up giving this a 4-star because, I mean, it was very, very, very good for the majority of the book. You set aside the fact that the game wasn't what I thought that it was, but that very well could have just been me misinterpreting what I'd heard about it. And the ending, which I also suspect might just be a me problem because, like I said, I've been having issues with the ending of everything I've read since Addie LaRue. I don't know what it is. Like, even books I like, the books I hate, like all of them, I don't like the endings, with the exception of rereads. So I'm kind of like, yeah, this is one that if I can get out of this funk, I might go back and reread and see if I still feel the same about it. Because, like I said, I didn't hate it, but it's just that ending. That ending really messed with me. So I think this might warrant a reread here in a few months when hopefully I've stopped hating everything. And maybe then I'll feel differently about it. Next up, I'm going to be reading The Paris Apartment. I'm kind of apprehensive going into that one because, as you guys know, if you watched my last 3 thriller reading vlog, the last Lucy Foley that I read was The Hunting Party, and I did not have a good time with that book. I did not have a good relationship with that book in the least. And this is going to be Lucy Foley's last chance. If I don't enjoy this, I will not be reading any more of her work. So I'm kind of nervous going into it. But at the same time, I'm intrigued because everybody talks about it really highly. So I'm going to jump into that one, and I will check in with you guys here in a little bit. Hi, everybody. So I am 130 pages into The Paris Apartment, and I'm actually kind of liking it. I don't know what's going on with me. Things that I think I like, I don't, and things that I am very convinced that I will hate, I end up liking. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think this is great, but it's definitely better than the other ones that I've read. So, at least at this point. So in this, we follow a woman named Jess who is kind of running away from some trouble at her own old job in England. And she goes to stay with her brother, Ben, in Paris. And it's like a very swanky apartment building. And when she arrives, he is not there to let her in. She basically has to break into his apartment. And she starts noticing all these weird things and trying to track him down. That's the basic plot line of it. And so far, I'm enjoying it. I do think it's because it's kind of a whodunit. There's a missing persons aspect to it, which you guys know I really enjoy a lot. I will say I do think that we have too many POVs, and that is something that seems to be a theme with Lucy Foley. It seems like we have followed every single one of his neighbors in an apartment building, and I think that's a little overkill, unless there is a reason for it that I just don't know about yet. But no, so far it's pretty interesting. So I'm going to dive right back into this, and I will check in with you guys more in a while. Okay, so I have to talk about this. There's a twist about 10-ish pages ago. Jess is like messing around in one of the neighbors' apartments. She's like sneaking around, going through their stuff. She finds this photograph and finds out that this apartment building is not just your average apartment building. It is like a overly large family home. All of the neighbors are related. I have to say, okay. I don't hate it. I don't hate that. I think that is actually a very interesting twist. No, I did not see it coming, but it definitely has me intrigued for the rest. But I just wanted to go ahead and put my reaction out there while it was fresh on my mind because, whoa, mind blown. In a weird way, it kind of all makes sense because it's like these people, they're all so vastly different and don't seem like the type of people that would associate with one another, but they do. But, now it makes sense because it's like with their families, so it's like they kind of have to put up with each other. So Interesting. Good job, Lucy Foley. You got me. So, I definitely want to get more into the rest of this because that caught my attention. I will tell you. See you guys in a little bit. Okay, guys, I finished the Paris apartment. Oh my gosh. Um, Surprise, surprise, I ended up really liking this. It wasn't perfect, but it was a solid 4-star for me. I definitely enjoyed it more than I thought that I would. I haven't been enjoying Lucy Foley's work before, but something about this one just spoke to me. I really enjoyed all of the characters, and yeah, a bunch of them were nasty, but it's like they were interesting, and it's like it was interesting seeing how everything was so woven together and everything. So yeah, it's like I liked the twists along the way. This finally broke me out of my hate every ending of every book slump that I've been in for a while. I liked the ending of this a lot, and yeah, I'm more willing to read from Lucy Foley again. I'm still not going to put her down as one of my all-time favorite authors or anything, but I enjoyed this enough to give her another try. So I'm glad that I stuck through this because it was a fun time. I did enjoy this a lot. If you have any more Lucy Foley recommendations, then let me know down below in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Hi everyone, so I am 104 pages into the final book of the vlog, The Golden Couple, and so far, I don't know what the mystery is. And it's really, really messing with my mind. In this, we're following from the perspective of Marissa and also from the perspective of Avery. And Marissa has taken her husband Matthew to Avery's office. She's like a 10-session therapist. Like she says she can fix any problem in 10 sessions. And she has taken her husband there because she's had an affair and she wants to mend things. And then we also flip-flop to Avery's point of view, and it's like she's had some challenging clients. We hear a little bit about the background of that, but I have no clue what the mystery in this is. I'm assuming that it's going to pick up, but right now I'm just kind of lost. Other than Avery mentioning that she has to take like these security precautions because she's made a couple of enemies on the job, I'm like thinking maybe that leads into something. But as of right now, I don't have a clue. I don't know. It's just so far it just seems like a drama of infidelity, and it's like I'm like, is this a thriller? It's just I don't know. Like I really liked Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkinen's first 2 books, The Wife Between Us and The Anonymous Girl. I thought both of those were very, very engaging. And then the last one, You Are Not Alone, I thought was okay, but I wasn't crazy about it. But this one, I'm just kind of like, I hope it picks up, because it's like, stylistically, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, it's written very well, but I just can't figure out what the mystery is. It's like, we're going to the therapist, and then the therapist thoughts on the couple, and back and forth every other chapter. And I'm like, can we do this for another, 250 pages? Like, I don't see this withholding that pace. So, I'm hoping that it picks up, but honestly, at this point, if I wasn't vlogging, I probably would have DNF'd. But hopefully it picks up. I will let you guys know what I think of it here in a little bit. Fingers crossed that it gets better. Alright, so I am 204 pages in, and it has gotten more suspenseful than it was. I will give it credit for that, but so far it still feels just like a crazy family drama with very little emphasis on the crazy. Like, when I mean crazy, I don't mean like crazy psychotic. I mean, crazy as in, how is this still happening? How is this still going on? How is this book a thing? Um, I'm just blown away by how little has happened in this amount of time. Um, the story has picked up in the sense that it's like we are having some strange things that would give you pause if it was happening to you, but it's like it took so long to get there that I'm kind of in a process now of I don't really care. At this point, there's strange things happening with Avery and with the couple, Marissa and Matthew, and I'm starting to wonder if the events aren't tied together. Before, I just kind of thought that, they each had their own little dramatic events happening, but I didn't really think that they were connected. But now I'm starting to think that they might be, because around the same time that Marissa and Matthew started to begin seeing Avery is when a lot of this weird stuff started happening. And so I'm starting to think that maybe that's why it's somebody that doesn't want her to get behind the truth behind them, or something. Like something that's going on in their life, and whoever the perpetrator is thinks that she is going to uncover something, so they're causing these things to happen. Or it could be that, and this is a big if, because I'm not 100% sure what Matthew's company does that he is in, but I'm going to put in like a small spoiler here, because I don't know if it's actually a spoiler or not, but just to be proactive, I'm going to be careful here. Had one of her first clients, when she began like the 10-day I can fix anything in like 10 sessions thing, revealed to her a company secret that she worked for a medical corporation who she believed were inflating the numbers. She overheard a conversation stating that people were dying from this drug, but it ended up getting FDA approval anyway. And Marissa called in an anonymous tip to flag the drug, and she did halt the release of it, but her tip was not so anonymous, and she's been getting like these threatening interactions ever since, people approaching her in the park and things like that, wanting the name of her informant, which of course she is not going to give. So on the flip side of that, we also know that Matthew is a partner in a business, and unless I've totally missed it at some point along the way, I don't think we know what his business actually is. So I'm wondering if it is the same business that Avery blew the whistle on. And the reason that I am wondering this is it's like Avery was approached in a parking garage and threatened, like, give us the name, that's all we want. And Matthew was also beaten in a parking garage. It didn't explicitly say that it was the same one, but I can't help but wonder. And I just find it strange that these things seem to be happening at around the same time. Marissa and Matthew are getting all of these, are getting threatening notes, and Marissa has a really weird personal assistant that is like trying to mimic her and trying to act like her. And I really don't know what this chick's deal is yet. But she is getting on my nerves. At first, I will admit, I thought that Marissa was being overly critical of her. I was just like, man, this woman's really on edge and everything's irritating her. But the more times that we see this girl, Polly, the more times I realize that what she's doing is really, really not okay. And she's just doing some weird stuff. And I'm trying to figure out what her involvement is. So I know from this clip, it seems like it is very mysterious and like there's a lot going on, and it's like there kind of is, but it's just like the way that it's being portrayed is not it's not very engaging, and it's not very there's not a whole lot of tension. It's like there's a lot going on, but it's told more like in a docu style, you know. It's like you're being told the facts, but you don't really have any suspense or tension going towards it. At least that's my take on it. Um, there's not that much of this book left, so I don't have very high hopes unless it has like a killer ending. But yeah, as of right now, I'm very, very underwhelmed by this, and I'm just really glad that I enjoyed that earlier too in the vlog. But I will check in with you guys here in a little bit to tell you how I ended up feeling about it overall. Okay, so we finished The Golden Couple. This was a solid 3. The action did get more intense towards the ending, but it started getting really, really out there, and I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Oh man, I don't know what the deal is with me. I really, really don't, but I'm just like, the endings of so many books have been messing with me the last couple of months, and I'm just not enjoying them anymore. I'm finding elements of them that like really are aggravating or just seem crazy out there. Like, and I know that thrillers can be over the top and like they're meant to have twists and red herrings and stuff like that, but it seems like it's more than normal. And, you know, that is my preferred genre, but it seems like it's more than normal. And it's really, really messing with me because it's like, while I do enjoy those things, I like there to be some basis to it, and I have not been getting that impression lately. I don't know if it's a trend with the way that things are being written this year, or if I'm just on a burnout. Maybe that's it. But I'm going to have to delve into spoiler territory to talk about my dissatisfaction with this. So, I guess I'm just going to film a clip for the beginning of the video explaining that this vlog is going to be full of spoilers, because that was not intended when I started this process, but it's just kind of happened along the way. So, I was right to a degree about my prediction about Avery and Marissa and Matthew's situation kind of being interwoven, but I was wrong in the manner. So I had speculated that I thought that the business that Matthew ran for was the one that was like threatening Avery, and that was wrong. It was actually his dad, which I'm like, where did that come from? You know, it's like, it wasn't needed. It wasn't needed. Like, I mean, there was talk of him having this fractured relationship with his dad early on, but it wasn't really focused on until much later in the book. And by the time it was focused on, it kind of felt like it was just thrown in. Like, oh, I need to explain this, so we're just gonna make it his dad. And it's like he had this fractured relationship with his dad, but it's like his dad was also running the company, that it was so weird. And can we talk about the red herring in this? I don't believe I mentioned it earlier, but there was this big mystery regarding the man that Marissa had an affair with, and it's like she's always just refers to him as the man that changed everything. It's like at first we think it's this guy from the gym, and then later on she does admit that it's somebody that they know more personally and that it's a friend, but a name doesn't get dropped until very far into the book. And it's somebody that Avery also has a relationship with. And it's like his name is Skip. And it's like these connections are so crazy. And it just wasn't needed. It wasn't needed. I mean, there is making things connect, and there's having a roadmap for a book, and there's also just making great leaps and bounds to just make your narrative fit. And that's what I felt like we had here. It was a similar issue that I had with The House Across the Lake. It's just too much for it to be plausible and enjoyable. So there was so much. So Skip has been a longtime friend of Marissa and Matthew, and he has harbored this not so secret love for Marissa for years, but she's been blind to it. They have a little bit of a fling one night. Marissa instantly regrets it, and Skip sees it as more. Okay, so that by itself, it's like, all right, whatever. It's kind of the setup. The whole reason that she goes to Avery in the first place is because she had this affair and she wants to fix things with her husband. Simple enough, right? Would be if the man who claims that he's like so in love with Marissa wasn't also seeing Avery. And yes, I understand. He's totally free to. She's the one that's married. But it's like, it feels out of character. You know what I mean? And we do find out later that that is orchestrated by Matthew's dad. Like, he asks Skip to befriend her because he wants to know about her clientele, and he figures like somebody in her inner circle will be able to get information easier. And it's like, anybody that actually knows a therapist knows they're not going to give up their clientele or personal information like that, no matter how well they know the person. So it was kind of pointless. But this was a giant red herring, and I knew that it was. It honestly would have been more interesting if it wasn't, but it was. So it's like, because Marissa's getting these weird letters, like saying things like, I'm not going to let you go that easily, and like there's flowers delivered to her and obsessive stuff. Obviously, she's thinking that it's Skip, and he won't leave her alone because of their night together. But we find out that it was her husband, and he knew all along, and he's toying with her. That might not have bothered me if it hadn't been for all this other stuff. But it was so, it came across as comedic. And he had like this over the top villanesque persona. It was kind of cartoony in the sense of like the way that he was confronting her, like when he comes out with everything. And it was just crazy. And not in a good way, you know? It was just like, I am let me find an example for you. Okay, so he had called called Skip to tell him that he was going to hurt Marissa, which, like, who would do that? So Skip is trying to break into the house to save her, and this is like an actual excerpt. Walk towards the window, Matthew instructs Marissa. I'll shoot you now if you don't. I'll kill you if you hurt her, Skip is shouting. Actually, it's going to be the other way around. Like, it's like something you would hear in a cartoon. Like, it's going to be the other way around. It's like, it doesn't pack a punch. I don't find that intimidating. And I don't know, maybe it's just me. Maybe I've just read way too many thrillers, but that is the impression that I'm getting from it. And it's like, it gets even more convoluted because Avery was with Skip when he got that call, and she went with him to the house, and it's like she like sneaks in the back door because like Skip is purposely distracting him. And it's like, I understand that Avery is an integral part of the story, but did she need to be there for this? It's like, it wasn't something that had anything to do with her. So it felt a little strange to me that if there's a confrontation like this going on in your marriage, in your household, that your therapist is going to show up in a critical moment like this. Your therapist. It's a little weird. So yeah, we have that. We have the relationship with Skip. We have like there was this whole issue, and then there were things that like I needed to be resolved that I felt like ended up falling flat or not getting the attention that they needed at the very end. Like the assistant Polly. There was so much emphasis on how kind of obsessed she was. Like, she was overeager in the job. She was emulating Marissa a lot. And she could get intrusive with her questions and the thing that she did. And that was and, at one point, Marissa is thinking that she's like an informant for the person that's threatening her or whatever, and she's ready to fire her. And the things that Polly is doing are very odd. But at the end, it's just kind of swept under the rug. It was like, oh, well, Matthew asked her to tell him what's going on at the store because he's worried about Marissa, and she thought it was like a normal thing. But that doesn't explain things that she did earlier. Like at one point, she faked having a rat infestation at her house so that she could sleep in the back room of the store. If she is just keeping an eye on Marissa at work so that Matthew won't worry about her, why is she sleeping in the store? It doesn't make sense. And then, like, Matthew's ex-girlfriend, Natalie, is like, she seemed like she was intrusive too, and she was really catty towards Marissa, and like making it obvious that her and Matthew still talked, and like it was obvious that she was trying to make Marissa jealous. And in the end, that got explained away as a Matthew thing too. Like, he told her to get Polly the job at the store or whatever, and he was like just keeping up this appearance of a friendship, and Natalie just steps up at the end to help Marissa with her kid after they've had this animosity the whole book. It just, there wasn't enough explanation on that. It just like seemed like in the final chapter, I think it was, that she just shows up at the store and she was like, oh, well, because this happened to you, I halfway understand it because, I went through something similar, and we'll make sure that your son is taken care of at school. It's like, it would have made more sense if Natalie had a position at the school, like as a teacher, but she was just like a parent volunteer, which Marissa was too. So to me, it didn't make sense that she's like, oh, well, I'm going to take care of him at school, because it's like, you shouldn't have any more to do with him at school than Marissa does. It's like, I get that she's trying to do a nice thing, but I didn't feel like the setup was there. So yeah, this book, man, I don't know, like, there were parts of it I did enjoy, and then there were parts of it that were just kind of, I don't know. It was messed up. And I do find it ironic, and I guess since I've like been delving full into spoiler territory here, that it's okay to go ahead and say this. Um, Although it was unplanned, I do find it ironic. I do find it 100% ironic that two of the three books had an evil husband. Like, completely unplanned. Hadn't seen any reviews on either of the books. Um, and that just kind of happened. The Family Game and this one. And I think that kind of goes to show a point for me that this is becoming a trend. And it's like, both of these books were released this year too. So it's like, is this a new thing? I don't know if I like it. You know, it's like, if it was more of a one-off, I don't think it would bother me. But like I said, the fact that it happened in two books in the same vlog, both books were released this year, that is concerning to me. Because it's like, I'm like, red flag, red flag. This is happening more and more. And both times it kind of seemed cartoony and over the top, and it took away from the overall enjoyment of the book. I did like the Family Game more than this, but this had its up points. I will say the very beginning of this is extremely slow. I would have DNF'd it if it wasn't for a vlog. I did start to enjoy it probably 150 pages in or so. It did pick up. But like I said, the interconnections and the webs were so intricate that it was very unbelievable. And you have to suspend a fraction of believability to be able to follow this at all, because like I said, it was just there was just too much to connect these couples, and it's like, it drove me crazy. I think I would have just liked it more if Avery had just been an average therapist with an unusual method, because I will say that I thought that her technique was interesting. She had this whole 10-day session thing, and like she had like, for every session there was like a different stage that she would like move people through, and she was very good at this. She was very adept at it. And she did this by becoming more involved in a client's life than a therapist typically would. And I did think that this was interesting. It's like they kind of give her free range to be involved and look into their personal details and kind of show up randomly at places that they might be, because she's trying to get a sense of who they are when they don't know they're going to be in the office. And I did think that that was very intriguing and very well done. And I feel like I would have enjoyed this book more if it was just from that angle and it was just her observing them and figuring it out herself. And I think in that aspect, I wouldn't have even minded the Matthew twist if it had just been Avery's revelation of her figuring it out and not had all of this inner workings of her own stuff into it. The company that's threatening her, and like his dad being part of that, and like the relationship with Skip, and it just like, it was too much. So yeah, I think this was a 3. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. It definitely wasn't the worst thing this year. But would I read it again? I seriously, seriously doubt it. And this is making me sad, because I really enjoyed Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkinen's first 2 books. And then the third one I thought was only okay. This one I thought was only okay. And it seems like it's steadily going down for me. I don't know if I'm going to pick up any more of their work. I wouldn't call any of them bad, but it just seems like the spark is gone. I don't know if that makes any sense. I might give them one more try if they put out another one. But at this point, I'm just kind of underwhelmed. So that is all that I have for you guys today. If you like this video, please make sure to subscribe, like, comment, follow me on the social medias, click that bell if you want to be notified of all of my upcoming videos, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.